This is a citrus press. You use it to juice limes, lemons, oranges, that kind of thing. It works great. Now the problem with this press is that it requires quite a lot of force. So every time you use it, like it kind of topples over. So I always think, you know, what I need to do is bolt this down somewhere. And I don't want to bolt it to the counter in my kitchen. So I need a designated, like a cutting board where it's bolted down. So let's build something to take care of this problem. Because I want like daiquiris and stuff. This is for a different project. This is a cherry counter, and I have a bunch of scraps. Let's find a bunch of boards that are going to work with this from our scrap pile. So let's make a board. Now, it doesn't matter if you have different wood species, doesn't even matter if they're different thicknesses. The only thing is you want them to be the same height. So let's do a glue up. Now the sides for a glue up need to be smooth and even. It doesn't matter how much pressure you put on or how much glue you use if the sides are not straight and even. So let's glue those pieces up here, and a little downward pressure is nice to ensure that no pieces pop up as you add more pressure. That's really the thing. You want pressure from all directions. Okay, so we have a basic board, and here's the press. Now we need to attach the press to the board, but there are no holes in this press. So what do we need to do? We need to create some holes, right? A couple of tips for drilling in metal. Start small. It's easier to go bigger. You don't want to start with a big hole right away. Use oil. It prevents the metal from burning and getting too hot. And take your time, don't rush it. And look at that, beautiful holes. Now let's get back to the board. After a glue up, and it doesn't matter how careful you were, you most likely will have slight unevennesses, so time to trim the sides. In other words, it's a good idea to oversize your boards a little bit before glue up, taking this into account. Now the unevenness, of course, goes in all directions. So after glue up, we need to straighten out both sides. First of all, we need one straight side to start with. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. We're going to use the CNC machine here and use a 2-inch surfacing bit and get a really nice smooth area. Another option you could do, hand plane, a lot of work, hard to get completely straight, but you know, you could do it. Sander, it's also hard to get completely even. You can glue a piece of plywood or something onto one side so you get a flat surface, then turn the piece around and then run it through your planer. So there are a lot of different ways you can create a smooth side. Now with the one side flat, we can turn it around and run it through the thickness planer. Of course, good to keep in mind ahead of time the size of your planer so you don't make a board that's larger than that, just for simplicity's sake. A planer is such a nice tool. Again, hand plane, sander, CNC machine. I might be forgetting something. You have a board now. You're pretty good, but it's nice to add some of these extra details to just kind of take it to the next level. One of those things is a juice groove, a juice groove. This is where a hand router comes in handy if you set up a jig, a stop block. Or, like here, you can use the CNC machine. This was super quick. And finally, to round over the edges, we got a round over bit here. And this is really most easily done freehand. And of course, you could do it the other way too. You could always set the board up and then use a handheld router and go around it. Next up, we're going to add some indentions, like areas where your hands can slip under. So we have a stop block and we have marked where we need this to start. And then you just kind of look at your marks, feed the unit in, and go towards your stop block. This is a nice feature. I really like these kind of holders like this, especially on a board like this, which is not even going to be reversible. We're not going to turn it around and use the other side. So I've got the position here. This is where I want it. So you can chop your lemons and your limes here. Okay, now we can turn this around and we can see, okay, we got our holes right here. So now we want to drill with this one. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is nicely bolted. So now when you go and you go push, 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 it's in place.
It takes a lot of force.
Yeah, it takes a lot of force to do limes and lemons and squeeze all the juice out of them. So this is going to be great in the kitchen. We're doing some changes, adding a new kind of counter where the bistro table set we're going. So if you saw that video where I took a farmhouse table and turned it into a bistro table, it's going to be kind of going in that general area. Now I'm going to do one of my favorite tricks when it comes to finishing, which is sanding and finishing all at the same time, inside without any dust. So what you need for that is some sandpaper and some of our wax polish. This is the mineral oil wax that I'm using because it's food safe and I like it for the kitchen stuff. So I've just put some wax polish on it and then I kind of work it in while sanding. But it kind of like creates this wet sanding thing that works quite nicely without actually producing any dust. I actually prefer to do this without any gloves on because you get a better sense of like the feel of it, like where you were able to, if there's any rough spots left or anything. So I would recommend that you apply this, you let it soak in, you dry it off, and then you wash this. That's going to raise the grain a little bit, and then I would repeat the process one more time after it's fully dry. So that's going to bring the grain down, adds some more finish to it, and then you should be have a nice piece that the grain won't raise the next time you wash it again. I think this is a good example of cherry having a lot of different colors in it. I mean, this is all cherry, and this almost looks like mahogany to me. And this almost looks like a little bit like a maple, and then you have these kind of more cherry, classic cherry tones. And of course, cherry also darkens over time, which is one of my favorite things with cherry. And especially when you're not putting on a thick finish. And especially if you keep it like in a sunny spot in your kitchen, it's gonna darken even more. Cherry darkens a lot in the sun. So what do we have here? We basically have a pretty hefty board. Like you could think like, oh, could you just screw something like this down on a piece of plywood or something? And you really want that kind of weight because that is what's going to keep this down when you like really push this down. And also the location here where this is in the corner and there's more space here. So it's a decent size. The thickness of the board is relatively thick. There's so many products like that, things that you have that you kind of like, but there's something that doesn't quite work right, so you end up not using them. And this was one of those products. If you're interested in picking up a wax polish, like the one I used to finish this board, they're in our shop. And I'll put a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.